This morning as we are here live with you where sports meets that thing called life. Like I said, inside of the Cafe Kubal Studios, Cafe Kubal, 3501 James Street, 324 West Water Street, 401 South Salina Street, all in Syracuse, New York, as well as inside of their double-decker cafe on 343 Fayette Street in Manlius, New York, and on the corner of Route 11 and Taft Road at Sweetheart Corners in their drive-through location. So make sure you head out to Cafe Kubal today. Inside of MonPazPopcorn.com's What's Poppin', we got a list of wonderful things coming up on today's broadcast with you. And Ma and Paz want to let you know I was out at the fair yesterday, and they have multiple locations at the Great New York State Fair. You can go out and see Ma and Paz from now through Labor Day at the Great New York State Fair. They have closed their store on 201 Old 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York temporarily because they've sent all of their staff over to man the Great New York State Fair because they have 3 Ma and Paz locations, including the Spud Shack location as well. So the entire staff has shifted over to the Great New York State Fair, and you can go see Ma and Paz there. I got some cotton candy yesterday. They have cotton candy, lemonade. They have their caramel-coated cheese bombs, as well as their popcorn, their kettle corn. So many great favorites out at Ma and Paz, so go see them at the Great New York State Fair today and all the way through Labor Day. With that being said, what's poppin' today? In just a few moments, about 5 minutes from now, we're going to have the exclusive first interview with Ashley Holdridge, who will be joining me here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. You know that Ashley's been on the show before. She is a women's lacrosse head coach and linked to our central and upstate New York community. Well, on the heels of her receiving the opportunity to become the Buffalo State head coach for women's lacrosse, she is joining us for the exclusive first interview, the first interview that she has done since taking the Buffalo State job. So she'll be joining us in just a few moments to talk about that. And then you see the Syracuse helmet. That means we're going to be breaking down the first depth chart of the season. That's right, folks. Syracuse's first depth chart is here, and we're going to have the opportunity to break that down with you to take a look at who Syracuse has on offense, defense, and special teams in the 1 to 2 deep for the upcoming Week 1 matchup, which is this Saturday, believe it or not. This Saturday, September 3rd, as we are in a game week, Week 1. Saturday, September 3rd at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, Syracuse will take on Louisville inside of the JMA Wireless Dome. It's the first time Syracuse has played a game inside of the Dome since the name change of the Dome, so you'll be able to come out and experience that history coming up here on Saturday. So we're going to be breaking down the depth chart. Now that it's been released, what my thoughts are, am I surprised, not surprised, and some maybe non-household names for Syracuse at the moment, but that could become household names. We'll break down the offense, defense, and special teams as we now know the depth chart going into Game 1 against Louisville. So very excited for that, and we'll do that in hour 2, and then we'll round out the show as we always do with the ingredients to success, proudly brought to you by Avicolli's on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road. Definitely going to make your way out to Avicolli's every Tuesday through Sunday for lunch, dinner, and drinks. Of course, drink responsibly. Their outdoor patio is fantastically put together with some beautiful flowers, and you can eat out there as weather permits. So make sure you head out to Avicolli's today. And they also have their indoor casual side dining where you can dine in on the pizza side on the left side, and then on the right side is more fine dining. And then they have their bar as well. So there's many different ways to experience Avicolli's. And of course, if you would like takeout, delivery, or catering, you can call the same number, 315-622-5100. That's 315-622-5100. So with all that being said, I want to thank you all for being a part of the show, joining us here on all of the many channels that are here in Central and Upstate New York, as well as worldwide. So I want to make sure that you are thanked for tuning in with us. I appreciate you so very much, and I can't thank you enough for being a part of Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, be it, pardon me, watching on youtube.com or facebook.com/wakeupcalldt, as well as on facebook.com/livenowdt, and for those of you listening on mixlr.com/wakeupcalldt, as well as those of you on wakeupcalldt.com. Every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Means the world to me that you're here with us. I thank those that go and listen to the show and watch the show after it's been done, as well as we have so many channels that you can connect with. We are currently on, and there may be more. It seems to continuously be added thanks to the good Lord himself. We're on Amazon Music as well as Audible. We are also on iHeartRadio, iTunes, and Apple Podcasts, MixLR, Player FM. You can find us on Podbean, Podvine, TuneIn, Spotify, Stitcher, and YouTube, all by searching Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, or one word, Wake Up Call DT. And beyond that, you can also find us by asking your Google Home or Alexa device to play the latest episode of Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, and they'll do that for you as well. And if you have Alexa linked up around your home, well, then that's pretty cool, because you'll be able to hear Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora while you walk about your house and do your thing, as well as when you're going for a jog, when you're in the car, when you're taking the kids to school, whatever you're doing, you'll be able to connect with us. So a lot of great stuff that we've been able to do thanks to the wonderful, wonderful people that are working at all of these great establishments that have allowed our show to be included on all of these platforms. So I can't thank them enough for what they have done for us, and I definitely look forward to linking up with you however we can. So with that being said, we're going to take a quick step aside for a fast break. When we come back, Ashley Holdridge will be joining us for the exclusive first interview that she has had since taking the job at Buffalo State to become their women's lacrosse head coach inside of the SUNY in NCAA Division III. So very excited to have Ashley back on the show, and excited to have exclusive opportunity with her here, an exclusive opportunity to celebrate the new opportunity that she has. So we'll take a step aside for a fast break inside of the Cafe Kubal Studios and be back in just a moment with Ashley Holdridge.
Carvel DeWitt, it's what happy tastes like. Do you know why? Because we make ice cream. Creamy, rich, flavorful ice cream. Not yogurt or iced milk like some of our competitors. Ice cream. Fresh, by hand, daily. For the calorie conscious, we have something new for you. Our new Carvelite. Same great flavor, creaminess, and texture of our regular ice cream with only 35 calories an ounce. So whether you want an ice cream cake, flying saucer, dasher, carvalanche, hard or soft ice cream, we will satisfy your craving with our fresh, handmade regular or new Carvelite ice cream. Carvel DeWitt. It's what happy tastes like.
Cafe Kubal offers same-day local delivery of our products, offering no delivery charge for Onondaga County. Shop cafekubal.com for fresh roasted coffee beans, cold brew, travel mugs, and all your essential Cafe Kubal needs. Cafe Kubal, coffee for the soul.
The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is located on 3680 Milton Avenue in the Home Depot Plaza. It is your family-friendly sports bar and restaurant. Folks, some sports bars aren't family-friendly. Some family-friendly restaurants are not sports bars. The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is proud to be both. It is that marriage that you've been looking for years. The Wildcat Sports Pub is your home base for your sports bar and restaurant needs, games for the kids, indoor and outdoor activities, and enough things on the menu to come back every single week and get to try something new. They're open Sundays from noon to 8 p.m., Monday through Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Thursday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to midnight. For reservations and party information, call 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat family-friendly sports pub and restaurant. How do, people? Happy to be back here with you on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Cafe Kubal Studios, 3501 James Street, 324 West Water Street, 401 South Salina Street, all in Syracuse, New York, as well as inside of their double-decker cafe on 343 Fayette Street in Manlius, New York, and, of course, at their drive-thru on the corner of Route 11 and Taft Road at Sweetheart Corners. So, however you go out to Cafe Kubal today, make sure you fill your cup up right and let them know that Wake Up Call sent you over their way, supporting local and supporting Central New York. So, with that being said, inside of MonPazPopcorn.com's What's Poppin', our first piece of today's broadcast is a very special piece of today's broadcast, a timeless piece, as we get to make history today with the exclusive first interview with Ashley Holdridge since she took the job for Buffalo State as their women's lacrosse head coach. And I am very honored and privileged, as always, to have Ashley on the show. I was looking forward to having her on the show here again, no matter where she was going to be. And now we get to do an exclusive broadcast as we get to celebrate her taking the job. We're on the heels of that news coming out, and this is the, like I said, exclusive first conversation that Ashley has had since taking the job to become the head coach of the women's lacrosse team at Buffalo State inside of the SUNY Athletic Conference NCAA Division III. So with that being said, let's bring her in. Ashley, how are we doing today?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing very well, and I saw you a little bit ago and at the Taste of Syracuse out there with family and whatnot. So, I mean, I know you love this community, and Central and Upstate New York is very important to you. And I'd love to start there because you've been able to work in different places. Why stick around Central and Upstate New York?
Yeah, I am super dedicated. I just love the feeling of Central New York. Just a community feel, and I love seeing people that I know in the community and having conversations that you might not have seen someone for 5 years, but it feels like you just saw them yesterday, and just seeing, you know, the accomplishments that people in this community have made. So it's nice to still be able to stick around and be traveling back, and we play in the SUNY Act. So it's something that's deeply rooted in me. My family's from here, and I'm just very comfortable in this community.
You know, and like you said, going around and seeing people you know and having that, you know, I know for me, when I was just in Florida recently, which is the second home, my second home, and also the second home of what I do with Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora and Do Diz with Dan, and really, you know, a lot of stuff with Dan Tortora Broadcast Media. So I love here, and I also love my second home, but there's something about getting on a plane, and I feel like you can understand this, and hopefully many of you that are listening and watching can, but there's some type of feeling that I get. It's more than pride. It's like it doesn't have a word to it, but when I get on a plane and I know I'm coming back to Syracuse, I'm like, that's my city, that's my town, those are my people, and I feel that, and I get excited for it, and I just would love for you to maybe share your thoughts on maybe some of that energy when you have to go away and then you get to like come back into the community, just what that feels like for you.
Yeah, I think I have that same feeling every single time when I was in Pennsylvania and I would have the opportunity to kind of like come home. It was always like a surprise for the family to come home. But for me, like as soon as I hit that street that my grandparents lived on, it was like everything felt like it was in place. Everything was right. So I think I still have that, like just being around in the area and having the opportunity to come back and be here. You know, even though I worked at Morrisville, I was still living in Eastwood. So when I would drive home from work, it was like driving back into my city that I knew, with the opportunity to see people and see my family. And so I feel like I have that feeling every time I come back into the area.
Yeah, and it's a great feeling, and it's a special community, and you just brought up SUNY Morrisville, where you and I connected for the first time when you were there as the women's lacrosse head coach. Just bring me into, you know, the time that you spent there and how you look back on it, hindsight 2020.
Yeah, I had 2 amazing seasons at Morrisville, walking in right after COVID, going to the NCAA tournament and having a great opportunity with student athletes who, you know, wanted to make a difference. Going to the NCAA tournament and having a great, it was amazing to be able to come back home after, you know, 3 years away in Pennsylvania and work with some amazing, talented local talent that found their way into the Division III program at Morrisville, and still having those connections moving on, having the professional connections and having those connections with those student athletes is something I'll always be grateful for. You know, every school is always a learning opportunity. In Morrisville, it was amazing. 2 seasons, a quick NCAA tournament in 4 months. And then we were back on the grind. So it was definitely a difficult decision to make, to move on from that institution where I found my home for the last year and a half. But I'm super excited for the opportunity to go to Buff State.
Yeah, you know, in those couple of years that you had there at SUNY Morrisville, how did it make you a better coach? What is it about you that's more seasoned now, more experienced? Where where did the wisdom and the knowledge come from? Like, what are you taking with you from Morrisville?
Yeah, I would definitely say that the wisdom comes from the talented players that I had, learning from them every day. Them coming out of a pandemic, losing seasons, whether it was seniors or freshmen, and definitely having the experience of being alongside coaches that have coached for a long time and going to the NCAA tournament. That's a big accomplishment, and I definitely equate it to all of the kids on my program. Without them, we would have never made it there. So I think just having the opportunity to work with such local talent, working with student athletes that were coming out of a year and a half, 2 years of COVID, not having seasons, learning from them and seeing how they were able to adapt and grow really helped me in the game as well.
That coming here from Ashley Holdridge this morning on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora with the exclusive live first interview since accepting the job at Buffalo State. So you said it was a tough decision to leave SUNY Morrisville after a couple seasons, but ultimately you felt like it was the right decision. What was it about Buffalo State that brought you to that point of saying, hey, we've done a lot here at SUNY Morrisville. I like what I've done in the last couple of years. I have a connection, obviously, to my team. Like you said, you've learned from them. You appreciate them. What ultimately did Buffalo State give you that you felt was the right fit at this time?
Sure. Buff State feels like home. Kind of how we were talking about the experience of driving back or flying back to Syracuse. I had that feeling being on campus. The opportunity to work on such a diverse campus, be my authentic self, and recruit student athletes to a diverse campus. It feels like Syracuse. And I think the opportunity, I'm super excited to work with, my new administration. They've been super supportive along the way. And I'm just excited. I'm excited to be a part of the SUNY ACC, which is really amazing. It's an amazing conference to be a part of. But Buff State just has that nostalgic feeling of being in Syracuse, super supportive, diverse, lots of different things to do in the community. And when I stepped on campus, it was definitely it grounded me.
Yeah, and you say when you stepped on campus, it grounded you. How so?
It just felt like this was where I could grow as a professional. Okay. I love everything about the campus. I'm super excited to be there with students. I was there during a time where they had some orientation, so there were some students walking around, and just seeing the difference of people and having the opportunity to talk with the coaching staff that have been there for years or were just hired, and talking with the new administration. I think it's just going to be a great opportunity for me as a professional to grow in my career and have support, as a Black female in women's lacrosse.
And you bring that up as a Black female and something that you consider. You said you could be yourself. You like the diversity and whatnot. Do you feel that? Do you feel the weight of that? I mean, I know beyond everything, I just see people as people, so I see you as Ashley. But for you to have that identification, right, that women have been through a lot of tough times in this country, and the Black community has as well, do you carry those as badges of honor as you step forward?
Yeah, I think you always carry them. I think, when I walk into a new community that I don't know someone or I'm not as confident, I think you always carry that, how are other people perceiving me? And I'm not sure how that is, I'm biracial, so my mom doesn't understand the process of walking around and being like, I'm carrying this badge, I've been through this experience, or people that look like me have been through this experience. And I think it's something that's so different in women's lacrosse, is that it is so populated diversity-wise. It's always filled with amazing talent, but I think to be able to see the game grow is a great experience. I still go through that notion of when I say, I'm a head coach at this college, and they, automatically it's basketball, 6'2", and I'm like, nope, lacrosse. I think that it's still a notion that we go through, that this game can't be diverse, and I love the game so much that I want to continue to improve the way that the game looks and the people who are playing it. Yeah,
and I can appreciate that. I know in the same world of lacrosse in Lemoyne for women's lacrosse, and their head coach, the very interesting experience. I mean, going off of what you said when you said your height and whatnot, they're thinking basketball. Well, for Liz Bevel, for Lemoyne, when she has traveled as recently as this past season, if she has a volunteer assistant or if there's an athletic trainer or somebody that's male, that when she travels somewhere, they will approach him and say, "Oh, you must be the head coach." And I said to her, I was like, in today's world where it is so easy to go on to anything on your phone, right in your pocket, and you should know the head coach of a team. But she said, and she put some stuff out this season in general, just saying women, she's like, that somebody thinks that someone at my age, I'm younger, and that, when I go on the road, that they'll approach whoever's on my staff that's a man, thinking that he's the head coach. And so it just made me think of what you were talking about is, diversity and respect and really taking the time to understand who is the leader. And Ashley, I was floored when Liz said it. I'm floored with what you're saying, being reminded of it. It's not that I don't know it exists. It's just I don't know why it exists.
Yeah, and, Liz and I work on a committee with the IWLCA together, so we get to have those conversations, and Liz does such amazing things in the community and has the opportunity to do a lot of things, and I think that happens. I've had the experience of having an assistant coach who was another female who was white and having recruits come in and say, "Oh, head coach," and I'm like, "Nope, quick, easy Google search." And we also had a male trainer that they automatically assumed, I get off the bus ready to find out where our locker room is at places. And I think that happens as well. I see it on the sideline, how do I portray myself? How loud can I be? How far out on the sideline can I go? So I think it's still something that it's a stigmatism that we're fighting as women, but as a Black woman, I think it's something that is a little bit more largely created with how am I portrayed? And so it's always in the back of my mind. It can never really focus completely on coaching because it's like, I'm not yelling at you, I'm yelling at my players, but what are you focusing on? So it's something we're definitely still curving and still working through, but, this game has brought me so much. So it's something that I'm not willing to just give up.
No, and I think that, what you've done and your desire to love this game, that's all that matters. And I talked to Rob Drummond about it on the show yesterday, and I spoke with Jerome Smith. I said, it's you find it was something that came to me when I was at Johnson College a while back, speaking to an entrepreneurship and business class, and I said it to the students. I don't know, it just came out of my soul. I said it in the moment. I think about it all the time. I think about it in romantic relationships, friendships, family, business, literally anything. And I tell people this, I say, you will learn the difference between if you love something or if you think you love something. Because if you love it, you'll do everything. And I tell people this all the time, I'm like, if you love something, nothing's an excuse. If you think you love it, everything becomes an excuse. So why do you love lacrosse so much? And why do you continue to pour your soul into the game?
Yeah, I think it's so deeply rooted in my family. It was something that my uncles played. My mom is one of 7, and we talked about this when I took the job at Morrisville. And it's something that brings so much joy. Like, I played 4 sports in high school. I wouldn't change it. But lacrosse just brings that extra grittiness. I still play it in the summer, even though I'm washed up and retired. But being able to kind of put my helmet on and be back out on the field with my friends, like, it just creates so much joy that I feel that I can't find anywhere else, right? I don't get that same feeling in the gym, and I don't get that same feeling going for a walk. Like, lacrosse just brings this big new difference inside of me, and it's been so deeply rooted. I think it really falls back on, I watched my uncles win a championship for Lemoyne, and after that, I was like, oh my God, I want to play this game. They went into double overtime. I was like 10 years old, and I'll never forget, I had to go to the bathroom so bad, and no one would take me because they were in double overtime. And it was just like an amazing feeling, but it was like something to watch my uncles accomplish something And then, I had the opportunity to go and play at Siena, and having them come to my games and support me. And it's something that we can always sit at the dinner table and have the conversation. My grandpa's so deeply rooted in the community. He worked at Syracuse University, was a photographer there. And we just love sports in general as a family. We could talk about sports all day, but I think lacrosse just creates a new conversation for us that we can all we share the same common experiences, which is great, and we can connect on something that we might not be able to.
Yeah, and when you sit around the table and you get to do that with your family, like you said, with so many having experienced the sport of lacrosse, when you get to sit around and have that conversation, what are those dinners like? What is that experience like? Bring me into it. Let us be a fly on the wall of what it feels like to be in a room where there are these multiple conversations going on at the kitchen table about the sport of lacrosse.
Yeah, so Holdridges are loud, so everyone's fighting for the attention, center of attention to have the conversation. But it's always great. There's 7 children, and I don't know, I think there's 10 grandkids now and a great-grandchild. So being able to kind of get together on holidays and have conversations. And then, my sister and I were the oldest grandchildren for 15 years. So we have people that are under us that are now getting into the game, which is amazing to us. And just being able to, I knew my uncles when they were not dads yet, and they were my uncles, and, they did things to us that, again, like my uncle would take me down to Berry Park and just shoot balls at me, and I would cry. But to see them as parents and teaching the game to their children, I think it's just something that's amazing. You just see it move through the history of our family. I have an older uncle who did not play lacrosse, and he plays up at Placid with my 2 youngest uncles who are 20 plus years younger than him. And it just is amazing to see how it's moved through the game. I just don't think that anyone understands the experience of sitting at a dinner table with a Holdridge. It's someone needs the center of attention, but the conversations are always great. And then we're able to just talk about the history and, memories and, oh, do you remember this game? And, my grandpa wrote a news article after my uncles won a championship together about his 2 sons. So we have that history that's so deeply rooted in our family, and, my family's super important to me. So I think it's something that's great for me that I'm able to say, hey, I'm a coach, guess what happened at this game, or guess what we did, the other day, or we beat this team. And so it's just an amazing accomplishment to be able to have, but the conversations are always so, enlightenful, and I learn new things, even though they've played so long ago, just to become a better person and a better coach. Those conversations are something that I wouldn't be able to pay for.
And having that here with Ashley Holdridge, exclusive first interview since she has accepted the job at Buffalo State with the Bengals as the women's lacrosse head coach. You mentioned about your grandfather writing an article about his 2 sons. That, to me, has got to be a framed piece that is shared throughout the family. That should be in multiple households. And what does that mean to you? Something as special as that not only does a father get to be proud of his sons, but to write an article and to have that, shared with the world, and that be a public thing. And for, the Holdridge family to be able to say, hey, in this moment, I was so proud of my children, but I also got to share that in such a big and unique way through what he did. So, I mean, there's something to that I feel like it's movie-esque when you have moments where you get to celebrate something as a family, but then you get to say, hey, I'll write an article about it. I'll celebrate them. They get to read it, and we all get to keep it forever.
Yeah, sometimes I go back just to reread it. I think it's amazing. My grandfather is a man of few words, but I just think that when we accomplish something, when you hear him say, go get it, it's just this thing oh, I made him proud. He might not say that, but I know he genuinely means it. And that article is something that just expresses how proud he was of his two sons. When I was going back and forth between the decision of Morrisville or Buff State and, moving away from my family, he's like, go get it. It's down the road. Take the highway, come home whenever. There's always a space for you. And for him to say that, like, he's so into the game. He supports everyone. He's a man of few words. And so to have that article, you can go back and be like, man, this really touched him. And it touches us as a family to be able to read something that he just doesn't verbally express. But our family's just super supportive. We love each other. We love to see all the things that people are doing in our lives. And we might not talk all the time. But I do know that, there are people that stand behind me and my family. And if I had to call them on a bad day, they'd be able to help me.
Yeah, and you talk about family and the extension of that as well, right? To those that you meet in this world of lacrosse and the student athletes that you have and the effect that they have on you and people that you just, cross paths with in general. I would love to mention, because you were so kind the last time I saw you, to say so many great things. And it was interesting that we saw each other at the Taste of Syracuse. And then I was at the Great New York State Fair yesterday, rocking my Fran Tortora shirt, my Tortora 21. Now, when people see it and they see the back of it only, obviously my last name's Tortora and my favorite number is 21. And Franny to me is more than a cousin. She's my little sister. So I was wearing that yesterday and walking through the Great New York State Fair. And when I saw the news about you getting this job at Buffalo State, I thought back to that moment where I saw you and you said, hey, how's Fran doing? If she needs anything, tell her to call me. I'm here for her. Whatever she needs, just have her give me a call. And I'd love to expand on that, because not only did I never forget that, Ashley, because things like that are genuine mean the world to me and they're priceless, but the fact that you have that care and concern, not just for Fran, but for many in the community, and just what you can say about building that extended family.
Yeah, I think a lot of it equates to my grandmother. She was a pediatric nurse in the area for 41 years, and we could never go to the grocery store without seeing someone she knew. And I think that just comes from the conversations we would have at the dinner table and knowing that I had a family in the community. I went to an amazing school at Nottingham, super diverse, super supportive. I think that that's important, that you always have some type of roots to call and say, hey, if Fran needed me or needed to have a conversation about college, like, call me. I've been through it. I'm a college coach, more than welcome, to have that conversation. But I think it's always important for people to create those roots, especially in the women's lacrosse community. Like I said, there are very few and far between of diversity. And I think just being able to expand and create that and say, hoping to watch Fran this year and say, oh, I know that kid. I knew her in high school. I tried to scoop her up in high school, and look how much she's done. I think that's what the game brings us, is the opportunity to say, oh my God, look how far this person has come in the game, right? Look how far Liz Bevel has come in the community, in the game. She's making a name for herself, which is amazing. Because like she said, there are people who think that her male trainer is the head coach. Like, no, it's Liz. She's doing all of these things in the community. She's working with the Haudenosaunee team. Like, that's an amazing accomplishment that not everyone's able to get through. And I think that this game just brings us so many connections, and I want to make sure that people know that I'm always a resource with whatever questions or any support that they need, even if they're having a hard time. That's something that I really would like to kind of leave as a legacy, that I am more than willing to kind of put myself out there and have those conversations within the community. I think it's important to have. I had those people that said, hey, you need something, you're in college, you call me. It wasn't always my family I called. There are other people that are extensions of that family that I could always lean on and have those conversations. And so it's just something that's been rooted for a long time, and it's something that I don't ever want to lose. And I think having those connections, like, I'm leaving the community technically, but I will always be back. But then I have those connections within the community to say, hey, how was the Westcott Street Fair? Or, how was the State Fair? Or just to have those conversations, because even though I might not be there in the moment, hearing how people had an enjoyable experience at something that happened within the community it still brings you a piece of joy to be, oh yeah, I experienced that at the fair before. Oh yeah, I definitely miss that feeling. So I think it's just something that is super important to me. I've always been that way, and it's something that I don't ever want to lose.
No, and I think that you won't, because when you care about people, that shines through. And that's something that you can't put a price tag on, and it's a meaningful thing, and it's what helps to make you a good person in society, not just a good coach, to have that genuine care and that love. You mentioned your grandmother. You said we couldn't go to the grocery store without somebody stopping her that knows her and having that connection. My grandmother, the same. I called her G-Mama, and lived to be almost 101. She's up in heaven, and we just had her celebration day. I know my mom is probably listening and watching, and my mom's another one, just like my grandmother. Wherever you go, somebody says, "Oh, hey, how you doing?" So, when you go back to those memories with grandma, I know you talked about your grandpa writing an article and having a connection with his sons, and when he got to do that, how special that was. When you think about those moments with your grandmother and going into a grocery store or going anywhere and seeing that connection with these people just passing by, I think about it like a highway, where a car just slows down on the highway, rolls the window down, and says, "Hey, how you doing?" So what does that mean to you, and what do those memories mean to you with your grandmother? Because you brought me to a place that's very special to my heart, so I'd love to get your thoughts on just how wonderful it is when somebody you love so dearly, you realize has touched so many lives.
Yeah, I always wanted to go anywhere my grandma wanted to go. Like, she is my best friend. I absolutely love her, my mentor. And so, like, every time I'd be in the store, I would hate it because we'd probably spend 20 minutes and she'd ask about this kid and that kid. And she'd always walk away and be like, "Oh, I can't remember her name," but she knew the kid's name. So I was like, "Well, you know who that person is?" And then, we'd be in the car, and on the way home, she'd be like, "Oh, it was Mary." I'm like, "Who's Mary?" And she's like, "Oh, the lady I talked to." I'm like, "Oh, okay." But, like, just to be able to see that she made such an impact in my life, and being able to see people walk around and be like, "Oh my gosh, Nurse Kathy." Like, the faces that they would make, right? It was always a smile. It was always an opportunity for them to stop. Like, if you know someone and you don't have a great relationship, you're not going to spend the time to stop and say, "Oh my goodness, Dan, how are you?" You're going to try to walk by and scoot by. That was never that instance. It was always, "Nurse Kathy, how are you?" And then the conversations, and just to see, how much she cared, she would ask about, if they had 4 kids, she's asking about every kid. "Oh my goodness, how's this kid?" And we would go through the whole story. And I'll never forget when I was in college, I lived with them when I was in college, and she would send me these big, long, she learned how to text. She'd send me these big, long text messages with updates on every aunt and uncle that I had. So I would, like, scroll through and be like, "Your Uncle Dan did this today." And I'm like, "All right, thanks, Graham." But it was always like, I always still felt like I was in the community, even though I was in Albany. Well, I knew what my Uncle Dan did today, and I knew what my Uncle Matt did, and the conversations that they had. So it's amazing just to see the connections that she has built throughout her life. And it's something that I definitely aspire to be. She's an amazing human. I absolutely love her. And it's something that we've been connected on for a very long time. And she'll always be the person that, if anything needs to happen or the conversations, I still call her. So both of them, my grandparents and my grandmother, stepped up to help me, to raise me with my mom, who's a single parent. Yeah. And I couldn't be more grateful for the family that I was raised in. Even though we've had some hard times, it definitely made me the person that I am today.
Yeah, and you just described, speaking here with Ashley Holdridge, in the exclusive first interview since accepting the job as the Buffalo State Bengals women's lacrosse head coach in the SUNY Athletic. You just spoke about grandparents and the beauty and the majesty of them and the importance. And I tell people this all the time because my grandfathers both passed away when I was 6. And, pardon me, to this day, I struggle with that. I miss them terribly. I shouldn't say I struggle with it. I miss them every day. I think about my grandfathers at least once a day. And, my grandmothers have also passed, but I got to spend more time with them. And when I decided, you talk about coming home and being home, when I decided to move home from Orlando area, when I was working at ESPN down in Orlando, Florida, and working at Disney, when I came back here and I started my company here, I got to spend time with my grandmothers, and I realized, if I wasn't here, they weren't traveling, so I wasn't going to be able to see them. I would have not missed days, I would have missed years with them. And so whenever somebody would say, hey, why did you come back to New York? Why did you come back to Syracuse? I would say, I came back here, for my family, and to more than anything, if I didn't come back here, I wouldn't have seen my grandmas. And G-Mama, I lived with her for a couple of years, and I took care of her. Best roommate I've ever had in my life. And, and I think as a single man in society today, when I look at my and I look to her a lot. I know you say you still call your grandmother and you ask her advice. I talk to my grandmother all the time up in heaven, and I always say to her, send me somebody that's 1% of you. 1% of you. Just, just a little hint of you even. Because she was the greatest. She is the greatest. And I know she's watching over me. And Ashley, I got to tell you that when you're sitting here talking about your grandparents, I'm beaming inside because I miss that. I had two adopted grandfathers that kind of, took me into their families. Grandpa Bill, who's up in heaven, and Papa Pandozzi, also up in heaven. And so they're all up there for me. And I tell people all the time, if you have grandparents, give them a hug and a kiss, and then go to the door and then turn around and run back in the house and give them another hug and a kiss before you leave. Call them, go see them, bring them to lunch, bring them to the movies, bring them to the zoo. Ask them about their stories. Ask them about everything they remember, and just sit there and let them talk. Record it if they'll let you, because grandparents are timeless. Mine are all up in heaven waiting for me when I'm 100 and something years old someday, hopefully. But, I'm so thankful today that, we're doing an exclusive interview about lacrosse, but more than anything else, Wake Up Call is where sports meets life, and I can't pass the moment of the fact that you get to still spend time with your grandparents, which I think is a beautiful thing.
Thank you. Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing like that, and it's so much fun. So before I let you go, to get back to Buff State for a second here, the Bengals. How would you describe, I know this is like very initial, this is very recent, so there's not a ton of things that have happened yet, and I know you're getting ready to move and doing all this stuff, but how would you describe the Bengal atmosphere, and what are you most excited about to go down to Buffalo?
Yeah, the atmosphere, like I said, I was on campus and there weren't that many students, but just the atmosphere is so welcoming. Just the conversations that I had on campus, and the conversations that I've had with the student athletes over Zoom. I'm super excited to start. They're super excited for the new opportunity for a coach. I'm most excited about meeting my new team. I have quite a bit of new members to meet and have conversations with. I'm excited to see what they bring to the table. All coaching styles are different, so I'm excited to see what we accomplish this year, which I think will be great things. I'm always in the mood to win, so I am going to bring that with us and hope to win this season. But I just want to be able to see them grow and be able to meet them and learn them. And that's what I'm most excited about, is always learning our student athletes and understanding them. Learning about their families, meeting their families is super exciting for me. So I'm just excited to be on campus and feel that welcoming experience and atmosphere that they already have. I'm excited to expand on that even more.
And now, to be a Bengal, what do you want to say to the Buffalo State community? What should Buff State know about Ashley Holdridge? What should they know about their new head coach?
Oh, that's a big question. I would definitely say come out to games and support the community. I think it's something that this game, we can bring so many connections and have those conversations. And one thing that, I want them to always understand is that I want this game to grow. I want to see Buff State, win in the SUNYAC and have some opportunities for their student athletes to be recognized in the SUNYAC. And so I'm geared up. I'm ready. I'm ready for, the opportunity to be in a big conference. I'm excited to meet people in the community.
And what do you think? I mean, you said in the big conference, the SUNY, just what your overall thoughts are about the value of that conference.
Yeah, the SUNY is amazing. Amazing student athletes, coaches that have been coaches for a long time with a lot of experience and knowledge, and to be able to be on the sideline with those individuals, again, learning from those individuals. I learned from the individuals in the NEAC/United East and created some connections there, and I'm excited to create some connections in the SUNY. I think it just brings a new level to the game. And I'm going to be able to come back to the community. We're going to be playing the Cortlands and the Oswegos. So being able to kind of, hop on a bus, come back to the community, be on the sideline with some experienced and knowledgeable coaches, and just see the team that, I'm now a part of and see how they play and represent the Bengal community. I'm super excited.
Yeah, coming from Ashley Holdridge exclusive. First interview since accepting the job is the Buffalo State Bengals women's lacrosse head coach. Ashley, you've been great about answering my questions. We've talked about truly where sports meets life, which is the embodiment of Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. In the effort of fairness, I am going to put myself on the hot seat in rapid fire. I'm not going to put you on at all. So you can ask me any 3 questions you would like to ask me, but we love to do this here on the show in rapid fire, and you've been great about answering all of mine, so I will not put you on the hot seat any further. You can ask me any 3 things in the world, and I have to answer them.
All right. What are you most excited for the rest of the year?
Oh, that's a great question. I would say, well, I'm an October baby, so I'm excited for my birthday on October 21st, and really excited for that. I'm excited to have weather. I'm excited for my allergies to stop bothering me. But I'm excited. I'm excited for the weather change. I love 75, 80, and I really love like high 60s, low 70s, because my favorite weather is t-shirt, shorts, sweatshirt over the t-shirt. I love the sweatshirt, shorts combo. Little bit of a breeze, warm enough, but cool enough. And so I'm excited for that. I'm excited for football season. I love football. I am excited for the holidays and for Thanksgiving and Halloween and Christmas coming up. Like I said, my birthday. I'm excited to spend time with my dog. She's the greatest daughter ever. And if I never get to have a human child, she's a hairy human child. She's very intelligent, and it's really cool. And she's very protective. And she's helped me through a lot. She's seen me through a lot recently and over the last 6 years. I can't even describe, like, if it was the end of the world and there was a zombie apocalypse and she was sitting next to me, I'd feel some sense of peace. So I can't thank Lily enough. Love you, girl. I know she's running around the studio office somewhere here, but a very big fan of her. And yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to just being around good people. I have a great support system. I love my blood family. I love my non-blood family. They're all family. And this year has challenged me. This year has taken from me some things that I thought were impossible and some relationships that I've had for over a decade. And, it's always a good time to learn who people are. It's always the right time. It's better now than later. But this year has definitely challenged me to be strong. And I told my mom there was like 4 things that happened around the same time. And I was down in Disney this past week, and I said, the Lord is really making me stick up for myself. He's really challenging me to stand on my own 2 feet, to make sure I take care of Dan, and that I don't let anybody walk on me. So, because I think people sometimes confuse kindness with weakness. And I've had to learn how to stick up for myself, stay clear about how I stick up for myself, and to be willing to walk away from things where they're not good. So I think this year's taught me a lot. I look forward to the ease up of some of that, in the sense of hopefully some better people coming in. You get rid of the trash, you bring in hopefully something good. But yeah, I mean, I'm proud to be challenged. I'm happy with the adversity. I've learned a lot, and if I've learned anything, it's that I have a lot of wonderful people that love me and would go to bat for me without me having to ask. And I think this year and these last 5 weeks have been a reminder to me that there's a lot of really amazing people that God has put into my life that have chosen to be here, and I think that that's really special.
That was a great answer.
Thank you.
Okay. My next one is what's one thing you wish you enjoyed more?
Time. Time. I think I have spent the majority of my life worrying about things I can't control and I can't change. And I did that yesterday. I had a moment yesterday. My mom can tell you, I apologize to God for that. I had a moment yesterday where I was just really just not appreciative of the blessings that I have. And I think we as people, we spend a lot of time thinking about what we don't have, what we can't change. And I've challenged myself, but I've challenged everybody. I've said, think about everything that causes you stress. Now think about everything that causes you stress that you can't control. What's left? Because most of the things that cause us stress are things that we can't control, and we have the stress because we're trying to control something that's impossible to. And I don't mean control in an overbearing way. In my world, I'm trying to make things happy and positive and good, and I'm trying to alleviate stress, and I'm always thinking of other people, and I'm thinking of myself and trying to make sure everybody's okay. But I think the thing that I need to appreciate more is time, because I have wasted so much time on the wrong people and giving way too much power to things that I can't control, and it has made me miss a lot of things. So I plan on spending the rest of my life only putting myself in around people and situations that breed positivity. And once they stop breeding positivity, to have the strength to walk away and say, I hope the best for those people. I wish the best for those people. I pray the best for those people. But my time is precious. And I think if God was looking at me right now, he'd say there's a lot of sand in that hourglass that you didn't take care of. And I don't want him to say that anymore.
Okay, last one. What has been your favorite age so far?
That's a good one too. My favorite age so far. Well, I would say, I don't know why I always think of this, but I'll think of my 3-year-old self, and I had blonde hair. Nobody believes me, but I have pictures. And I had a mushroom haircut, blonde hair, a lot of hair. And it's funny now because I'll be sitting and people think oh, are you losing your hair? I'm like, no, my hair grows in fast. I just shave it all the time. And it's because I just like having my head shaved down. I don't like the feeling of when my hair gets thick and stuff because I'm Italian and Hispanic. So, but I would say being 3 years old, going back to those times, my grandfathers were here, my grandmas were here. I didn't have a care in the world. I didn't have a worry in the world. So I would say that, but I would also say where I'm at. I'm 36 years old, and I can't believe I'm 36. It's weird for me to say because I'm a big kid. And I would say my favorite age is now because I'm learning to, back when I was a kid, back when I was 3, I loved myself because I thought of nothing else, right? I loved myself and I loved everybody and I trusted everybody and everybody was good. And then you get older and you have to be careful not to be jaded. So more than 3 decades later, I would say I love this age because now I'm choosing to love myself, knowing how some of the world is, knowing some of the things I've been through. And I think choosing to love yourself when you're old enough to know that, and you're old enough to know it's a choice, and you're old enough to know happiness is a choice, I think that one of the most beautiful things is to wake up in the morning and say, God, thank you for waking me up today. Thank you for my life. And I thank him for Lily being awake because she's always right there laying next to me. And, I always pray that all of my loved ones are alive and that everybody woke up today. And for those that didn't, that they're safe and sound in heaven, their loved ones are safe and sound here on earth, and that they're always connected to each other, even in death, and that they will meet again. Because, I always say to God, dying, you destroyed our death, rising, you restored our life. So I would say my favorite age is now, because now I can choose. I can choose to be happy. I can choose to love myself. And I went down to Florida this past week, and I went by myself. And originally that wasn't going to be the case. And I went down by myself, and I got to tell you that walking around Disney with Groot on my shoulder, because I'm a big kid, and, my backpack with my water and my snacks for Disney, and, planning out my day, I can honestly tell you that probably for me, it was standing at Epcot where I used to work, and it was looking around and just saying to myself, I'm okay, and I'm good, and I needed this. I needed this trip, and I needed this time to myself. And, coming home, I think the biggest challenge was coming back to familiar places, and all those things that bothered you, you have memories of them here, and then to say to yourself, well, look at everything you learned. You didn't learn that because you were in Disney. You didn't learn that because you were in Florida. You didn't learn that because you were in warm weather and palm trees and paradise. You learned that because Dan Tortora was there. And Dan Tortora is back here with you. And so what you learned in Florida it also serves here too. And it's just once you get into, your familiar settings and whatnot, to remind yourself the person that taught you how to love yourself a few days ago is the person that's in the mirror today. And I think if any song is compelling for anybody to listen to, it's Man in the Mirror by Michael Jackson. And reminding yourself to love that person in the mirror and stop waiting for somebody else to. This world, especially with social media, we wait for someone to tell us, you're pretty, you're smart, you're funny, you're good at that, you're capable, you're worthy. And how dare anybody use that word worthy, because we're all human beings. So I think my favorite age is now, because this is the only age that I can affect. I can't affect my past. I can't affect my future yet. But if I do the right thing in the present, I'll have a past that I'm proud of and a future I look forward to.
Awesome.
So you just caused me to have a very real few minutes here on the show, but I've always been this way. And I obviously wake-up calls where sports meets life, as I've said many times this morning. So, Ashley, I want to thank you. I want to thank you for your heart, because I know that more than a coach, you've been a very caring person, and I feel that. So I want to thank you for that through the phone and in person. And I want to thank you today, as we celebrated you, that when you asked me these questions, you really compelled me to think, feel, and understand. So I think more than anything today, you taught me on the show. So I owe you the thank you for coming on the show today.
Yeah, and thanks for always having me. I'm super excited when we're able to kind of get together and have these conversations. Hope to see you maybe at a game in the future, and I'm always available.
Well, I appreciate it, Ashley. Thank you for letting us do the exclusive first interview. Congratulations on the job again. Shout out to the family, and go call those grandparents of yours and figure out a time you can go give them a hug, because life is precious.
I will. Okay. Thanks, Dan.
All right, take care. Have a good day.
All right, bye.
Take care. That coming from Ashley Holdridge here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Cafe Kubal studios. And, wow, I needed that this morning. I did, I needed those questions today. I think we all do. I do. I think we all need to think about stuff. You know what I mean? Once you stop learning, once you stop growing, once you stop challenging yourself, I think you stop living. And I would tell you the same thing I tell myself that I just said to Ashley. Think about everything that stresses you out. Then think about all the things that you can't control. Of those things that stress you out, I guarantee you most of them, if not all of them, are things you can't control. Because we typically stress out about the things that we have no control over. So, don't stress. I know it's easier said than done. But just really, really, really take the time to love yourself. Make sure you make the most out of that hourglass. And don't let anybody take your happy. Because it's yours. Shame on anyone that comes into your life to disrupt it. Because God is not the God of chaos, but of peace. Remember that. When something in your life is chaotic, it's not from God. When it's peaceful, it is. And it's great to celebrate new jobs and new opportunities like Ashley's. And it's also great to remember that she has touched this world and helped people throughout our community. And if for nothing else, people like Ashley in our community are helping our community to be positive, to connect, and to grow. And that's what I love about Central and Upstate New York. We care about each other. And that, it'll turn into wins. But it'll also be the wins that you'll never see show up on a stat sheet. But the ones that count the most. With that being said, we'll take a step aside for a fast break. Inside of the Cafe Kubal Studios, this is Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, and we'll be back right after this. Avicolli's, located on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, has been your trusted neighbor for decades. Located just steps from Liverpool High School, we're happy to have the Liverpool Warriors on-site, on-location broadcast at Avicolli's through Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora every single month, featuring student athletes, coaches, and administration throughout the year from Liverpool High School. Head out to Avicolli's today on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, open Tuesday through Sunday for lunch, dinner, and drinks. We'd love to see you out there. And of course, you can call them at 315-622-5100 for takeout, delivery, and catering. That's 315-622-5100. And also find them on myavicollis.com. That's myavicollis.com. Having peace of mind when you're out of town that your furry-loving friend is safe and sound means taking them to Canine Campground, because we all know that when it comes to the love of our pets, it goes well beyond the call of duty to make sure they're safe and sound. Right, Lily? So take a ride to 242 Johnson Street in East Syracuse, New York, and see Canine Campground and where your dog will be staying, in the classic cabin, the executive cabin, the grand cabin, or of course the luxury cabin, because if you know Lily, you know she loves luxury. Now you don't have to wait to the last minute to find a family member or a friend that'll take your dog for a few days. Call Canine Campground at 315-299-4013. That's 315-299-4013. Their drop-off and pickup times are Monday through Sunday. Check K9campground.com for more information. That's the letter K, the number 9, and campground spelled with a K.com. K9campground.com.
When you're going out of town, bring your dog to Canine Campground.
PB&J's Lunchbox, the food truck that you love finding all throughout Central and Upstate New York, now has a street-side cafe. So when you're craving their traditional favorites as well as their out-of-box amazing menu items, you can now head to 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York. Located just minutes from the highway, the Thruway, Destiny USA, and Onondaga Lake Parkway, PB&J's Lunchbox Street-Side Cafe is there for you Monday through Saturday from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m., serving breakfast, lunch, and dinner all throughout the day. Get breakfast for dinner, dinner for lunch, whatever you fancy, including their award-winning grilled peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Find them at 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York. PB&J's Lunchbox, where we love to know what's in your lunchbox. As a patient, what do we want? To be cared for, to be listened to, and to have someone walk us through the process on our path to victory. Victory Sports Medicine and Orthopedics does all of those things beautifully, with Dr. Mark Petropoli leading the team on 791 West Genesee Street in Skaneateles, New York, located minutes from beautiful Skaneateles Lake. Whatever your injury may be from head to toe, preventative care, rehab, physical therapy, laser therapy, and surgery are all available at Victory Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, where they care about us, they listen to us, and they understand that everyone's path to victory is a little bit different. Let them help you on yours by calling 315-685-7544 to make your appointment today. That's 315-685-7544. And find out more information at victorysportsmedicine.com. Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Cafe Kubal studios, hanging out with you where sports meets that thing called life. Cafe Kubal located for you on 3501 James Street, 324 West Water Street, 401 South Salina Street, all in Syracuse, New York, as well as on the corner of Route 11 and Taft Road at Sweetheart Corners in North Syracuse at their drive-through location, and on 343 Fayette Street in Manlius, New York. Make sure you let them know that Wake Up Call sent you their way, and we appreciate everything that Cafe Kubal is doing in our community. I want to thank Ashley Holdridge for being a part of the show inside of Ma and Pa's Popcorn.com's What's Poppin'. So happy to have Ashley as part of the show today. And now in hour number 2, it's time to jump into, and that's why you see the Syracuse helmet, the unveiling of Syracuse's depth chart for this upcoming first game of the season. So we're going to bring up the offense first. I know it might be a little bit smaller writing here for you on the screen on YouTube and on Facebook, but we thank you for being here with us on youtube.com, facebook.com, and mixlr.com, all /WakeUpCallDT, as well as on wakeupcalldt.com's homepage and on facebook.com /LiveNowDT. So however you're tuning into the show, we thank you for being a part of the broadcast here where sports truly meets that thing called life. So with that being said, to take a look at this roster and what we have up here for the Syracuse Orange, Garrett Schrader, who is named a captain, so no surprise here that he is your starting quarterback, as Garrett Schrader is going into his second season at the helm of the quarterback situation in Syracuse, and so we have the opportunity to see him. Now, on the ground last year, he accounted with Sean Tucker for over 2,200 yards. They were a nice 1-2 punch on the ground, and now they have the opportunity to move forward with this. What I'm excited about, even more so, is the hope of what he can do through the air. And I've been told that this team is going to do more, right? They're going to run the ball, but we're also going to see more. We're going to see more passing with Coach Robert Anai as the new offensive coordinator and Coach Beck as the new quarterback coach, both coming over from success at Virginia with Brennan Armstrong and Keaton Thompson, who was a jack of all trades out there as well. So we take a look at that, but also no surprise to me is that your second player there on the depth chart that you're going to see is Carlos Del Rio Wilson, the transfer that came in from Florida, a redshirt freshman. He's got plenty of time here at Syracuse, and Carlos Del Rio Wilson, I am not surprised that he is number 2 on this depth chart right now. So that's another thing to state here. Not a surprise to me, albeit the fact that he is a new face on the team. At running back on Syracuse's depth chart, as we break down the depth chart, first depth chart of the 2022 season, which brings us into week 1, the first game, season and home opener, happening with the Syracuse Orange taking on the Louisville Cardinals inside of the Atlantic Division in the ACC. It is a conference game to start the season, and it is the first game that it will ever be in what's called the JMA Wireless Dome now for Syracuse football. Sean Tucker, obviously your starting running back. LaQuint Allen, your true freshman, is backing him up there. That's another thing to look at right here. A special moment here as the rookie, so to speak, here, straight out of high school, LaQuint Allen has found his way in the 2 deep, which means that we will probably see him in some way, shape, or form. The only fullback on the board, Chris Elmore. He has played on the defensive line, offensive line, tight end, and fullback. He's been the jack of all trades, 4 positions here, and, well, 4 different places, I should say. So very happy to have Chris Elmore, Rhino, here in a more traditional spot at fullback, and hoping big things for him, and hoping the NFL sees his worth truly this season. At tight end, Aronde Gadsden II, who came in as a wide receiver, and I just interviewed recently. That sophomore has now been moved to tight end with Maximilian Mang, who comes back from last season, also a sophomore. And there's that or that is located on your screen, stating the fact that we could see Aronde Gadsden or Maximilian Mang as the starter. That or serves as saying whichever name is on top might just be squeaking by just a hair, but that either one of them could be the starter. I always think that the one that you see on top of the 2 deep, I mean, obviously, if there's no or, that's the starter, and the one underneath it is the 2. But if you see the or and it could be one or the other, I still think the one that's in that one spot above the other one, despite the or, has a hair above them. So Aronde Gadsden, interesting situation here. He's been moved to tight end. So wide receiver moved to tight end. We'll see what that looks like. He's a big guy at 6'5". And Damian Elfert, wide receiver, not surprised here, 6'6". I interviewed him as well going into the season. The sophomore is back here, and you got 6'5" and 6'6" there to help you out. It says him or Isaiah Jones, the redshirt sophomore we haven't seen a ton of. He's standing at 6'4". That could be out there. So a lot of height for Syracuse at receiver, which is good. Then you got some guys that are smaller, can do a lot of different things. 5'11", 6 foot here. Courtney Jackson, he's only a redshirt sophomore, thanks to the COVID-free year. Courtney Jackson's going to have an extended time at Syracuse if he wants it. Love having him back. And Devon Cooper is back. He was somebody that stepped up last year. Very excited to see him. Now, he's in a situation where he's in an or, and this is like I said, where even though the or is there, the starter's the one on top, because Devon Cooper is an or underneath Courtney Jackson, but then he's also at the top of another wide receiver position with Trevor Pena there. Trevor Pena there for you on special teams as your kick and punt returner and as a wide receiver. He's a scrappy guy that can get after it. He's only a sophomore, which is another beautiful thing for Syracuse. Some of these guys that have been weapons that are growing themselves by the time they're seniors, if they choose to stay, could be very, very effective on a potentially explosive offense for Syracuse. The Courtney Jacksons and the Trevor Penas and Damian Elfert and Aronde Gadsden, who have some time here. So very excited to see that. Isaiah Jones as well as Maximilian Mang. And then Devon Cooper deciding to come back as a redshirt senior. Your receivers, Damian Elfert, Courtney Jackson, and Devon Cooper. But we'll probably see Isaiah Jones and Trevor Pena. And this is the first Syracuse depth chart in the history of me since I came back to Syracuse. I think this is the first time, I'm pretty confident this is the first and only time that I've ever seen the entire receiving core from tight end to every wide receiver be in an or situation where every single one of those could be the guy that's at top or somebody else stepping in. I know I've never seen another Syracuse depth chart since I came back during the Marone era that had the or at every wide receiver and tight end position. The offensive line is going to look a little bit different. I'm really excited about this. So at left tackle, Matt Bergeron holding it down as the junior. My dude, redshirt freshman, Enrique A. Cruz Jr., my running mate for president and vice president. He is your backup left tackle. I think we'll see him, and this is not, I want Matt Bergeron to stay healthy throughout the whole year. Obviously, I want everybody to do that. I think we'll see Enrique at some point in rotation get some time out there. I do. I think we'll see him at some point. Maybe we'll see him against Wagner. We'll see. So I'm excited to see him. So excited for Matt Bergeron, and very proud of Berge, and really hope that he takes care of that blind side well and gets him an opportunity in the NFL. Kalen Ellis, super excited about him. He's been on the show. Sophomore, Kalen Ellis joining the broadcast with me this year, and very, very much looking forward to the Hawaii native for being our starting left guard. That's what he told me. He told me he was going to probably be at left guard, and did not disappoint when the information came out here and we had the opportunity to see him on the depth chart here for the first one of the season. Right behind him is Wes Ho, who also came in and got onto the team here with Enrique Cruz Jr., a redshirt freshman. Carlos Vettorello, who's played at tackle and center, is back at center with Aaron Service, having finished his eligibility as a redshirt junior. Vettorello is back, and hopefully things go well there. Josh Alawa, who's filled in and done some good things, he's a sophomore, and he is the backup center. At right guard, we have Chris Bleich, who has spent a couple years being injured, and hopefully now, and he's another guy interviewed going into the season, hopefully things will work out, and he will have the opportunity to have a full season, a healthy season, and be very, very well. He's a redshirt junior. He's got a couple seasons left with Syracuse, and I pray and hope to God that he plays those entire seasons, he plays his heart out, and that the Florida transfer shows us everything he's got, the Pittsburgh native, and that he gets an opportunity. I hope they all get an opportunity in the NFL, and Bleich has been through so much adversity. I really hope that this season works out for him and beyond. Jacob Bradford, who filled in at right tackle last year, he's at right guard this season as the backup right guard at redshirt sophomore. Dakota Davis has been all over the line. He's at right tackle. I think this is probably the position that's maybe most open. Dakota Davis and Anthony Redd figuring out the right tackle. It's something Syracuse has done for like over a decade now. There's been a lot of moments where they've been trying to figure out who is the right tackle. And so I think we'll probably see a few different things here, but Dakota Davis is the starter at right tackle, and Anthony Redd's had some time as a redshirt sophomore. Dakota's back as a redshirt senior, giving one more year to this, and I'm hoping that all that experience is going to shore up that right tackle side of the line. With that being said, as we continue our breaking down and analysis of the depth chart of Syracuse this season, first depth chart of the 2022 season heading into week one against Louisville, we head to the defensive side, and the defensive line is changing because everyone in the two deep, well, I should say this. 2 of 3 starters on the line have changed. There's only 1 starter returning on the line. Well, no, that's not even true. All 3 starters, because he cycled in. All 3 starters on the defensive line for Syracuse are different, even though we have seen like Caleb Okechukwu be a starter at times last season. Coming into the season as a starter, all 3 of these have changed, and all the backups have changed because Josh Black, who is a defensive end, has moved on. Kingsley Jonathan at defensive end has moved on. Cody Roscoe as defensive end, he's moved on. McKinley Williams, Bear, defensive tackle, he's moved on. And we saw the transfer of Curtis Harper as a defensive tackle. So Caleb Okechukwu is the veteran leadership that's back as a redshirt junior. Everybody else is younger than him. He'll be backed up at one of the defensive end positions by Chase Simmons, who's a redshirt freshman. And then interior of the line, Terry Lockett is a true sophomore. He's been on the show, and he just joined me recently. Kevon Darton is going to be backing him up, redshirt sophomore at D tackle. And then JT Gear, who was just on the show, and I also followed through his recruitment like I did with Terry. Jadius Gear, JT Gear, the redshirt freshman, has stepped up as a defensive end starter. And Dennis Jaquez Jr. is going to be backing him up as a true freshman. So that defensive line seeing 3 new starters going into the season. And Caleb Okechukwu actually had experience as a starter, but this is the first time that we're going to see that lineup with Terry Lockett and JT Gear, and then Caleb is the outright starter coming into the season. Typically, you saw Kingsley Jonathan and Josh Black at defensive end starting off the season. At linebacker, this is where we're seeing the continuity, right? Stefan Thompson is back at linebacker, starting here, the true sophomore. Leon Lowry, who filled in some good time last year, is a redshirt freshman. Obviously, the bonus year due to COVID, so he's backing up Stefan Thompson. And then we have Mikel Jones, decided to come back for his junior season. He could have left because you have to spend 3 seasons in college before you can go to the NFL, and he technically did that, but now he has the junior year because of COVID, so happy to have him back, of course, a true leader on this team. Austin Roon, who had some time last year, he's back, number 42, the redshirt freshman, to back up Michael Jones. Marlo Wax is back here for us, the true sophomore, and Derek McDonald is here as a redshirt freshman back on the team to back up Marlo Wax. And then we look at the secondary, which is in a 3-5-5, where the emphasis is put with the 5 in the back and the 3 up front. Garrett Williams and Deuce Chestnut back at corners, respectively. Both Garrett Wilson, a redshirt sophomore, Deuce Chestnut, a sophomore, both guys with NFL aspirations for sure. And backing up Garrett Wilson, Jeremiah Wilson, the true freshman. And so, Garrett Williams, I should say. Jeremiah Wilson, the true freshman, excited to see that. And Isaiah Johnson, the redshirt junior. And then at our safety positions, we have Jihad Carter back here. He had a moment in practice this year. I'm happy that he's okay. And God willing, all will be well, and he'll have himself a full season. The true sophomore, Jason Simmons, is back, the junior. Filled in, did some good things. And then we get to see a very unique free safety position here. Elijah Clark, who's not a household name, somebody who's on the come up here. He now gets to be the starter at sophomore here. Very excited to see that. He's going to be making his first start as a Syracuse player in this game against Louisville. And Braylon Oliver backing him up, the redshirt freshman, who has also never started a game for Syracuse. So really cool to see that, and excited to have him out there. And like I said, to go back to the defensive line, Caleb started 2 games last season for the team on the defensive line, the only defensive lineman to start any games of the starters that they have this year at D-line. Elijah Clark and Braylon Oliver, both at free safety. Neither one of them has ever started a game at Syracuse, so that's really cool to see. And then the Rover, Justin Barron, is going to start at sophomore, and Rob Hanna is going to back him up. Rob Hanna, you got to see a bunch over the last couple of seasons because he found a way to get himself onto the field and fill in for guys that were injured. In 2020, he started 8 games, and last year he started 3. But I love Rob Hanna as still like that sleeper, even though I think he's done a bunch of good things that he should be, respected for. I still think he's one of those players that you don't talk about enough. And so I'm excited to see what he can do this season. Michael Jones, with the most starts on the defense overall, had 4 in 2019, 11 in 2020, and all 12 last year in 2021. Garrett Williams had 11 in 2020 and 10 last year. And Jihad Carter had 10 in 2020, 8 last year. Stephon Thompson started every game last year with 12. Deuce Chestnut, as a true freshman, started every game last year as a defensive back with 12. So really cool to see that as well, which leads us in to our final analysis of the first depth chart of the 2022 season for Syracuse, and that being taking a look at special teams here. And good morning to William Pagan. Much love to you out there, and very excited to have you here. He said those are facts. I'm guessing he's talking about me talking about me and his son running for president and VP, and then vice versa, flip-flopping it afterward. Greg saying congrats and all the best to your new head coaching position, Ashley. Much appreciated for that. And then William saying Sarah Cruz for Enrique A. Cruz Jr. And then Greg saying SU fans will have to see some type of effective passing attack this season if this squad has any bowl aspirations. And I agree with that wholeheartedly. And I've spoken with numerous players on the team, on the defensive and offensive side, DBs and wide receivers, that have said they don't understand why Garrett Schrader is called, that he can't pass. They don't understand that. They don't get it. They don't respect it. And they don't believe it's true. So, we'll get to see, hopefully, what this can turn into as we get ready for this upcoming game. That, he's got his teammates saying, listen, he can pass the ball, and we don't know why people on the outside looking in have so many negative things to say. It doesn't make sense to us, and we don't agree. So that's a good thing to see. On special teams, we have Andre Schmidt returning for his redshirt senior year. He's finished after this. Decided to come back. Happy he did. right behind him, wearing number 92, is the man that I did a bunch of exclusives with Nate Trout. And Nate Trout and I were just down at Hooters Week in Orlando, Florida, at Live from iDrive at the Hooters that we call home down in Orlando, 8801 International Drive in Orlando, Florida. When I go live from Hooters down in Florida, it is always at iDrive on 8801 International Drive. So make sure when you're down in the Orlando area that you not only go to Hooters, but that you pay them a visit at Hooters iDrive on 8801 International Drive in Orlando, Florida, and get the smoked Daytona wings. You can get smoked wings, and you can get Daytona wings. Get the smoked Daytona. They smoke the wings, then they roll it in the Daytona sauce. It's a concoction I can't take credit for because one of the Hooters girls last year told me to get it, but it is my go-to, and I've gotten a lot of other people on it, and if you want to clear up your sinuses the natural way, do it with some smoked Daytonas. They're not too hot. They're just they're smoky, and they got enough to them to clear you right out and start off your day the right way. So make sure you head out to Hooters iDrive Orlando, and the more I talk about it, the more I want those wings. So make sure you go out. It's working on me. Hopefully it's working with you too. Special teams, Andre Schmidt, happy to have him back. Speaking of Nate Trout, Nate introduced me to Merritt Island phenom Brady Denneberg, who is a dual threat quarterback that was also a kicker. In order to go to the state championship this past season, he ran the ball twice and threw a pass to set up his own field goal. How many people can say that? Probably less than 1%. Brady Denneberg is a true freshman, but he's right behind Andre Schmidt. I wouldn't be surprised if we see him out there at some point, and if he's the future kicker of the Syracuse Orange, who did his exclusive interview with me, the three-person Zoom with Nate, him, and I, all talking about Brady and Nate and their connection and the tutelage and all that, and then Brady doing an exclusive with me when he came to visit Syracuse, and an exclusive when he committed to the Syracuse Orange. So Brady Denneberg, a true freshman, remember the name, number 92, 6-foot kicker for the Syracuse Orange, and not your traditional kicker, because you can use him in a lot of fake sets since he can run the ball and throw the ball, and he's had success doing that. The fact that you have a passing, running place kicker, good thing for Syracuse. So I would expect Coach Ligg, who went down to visit him, Coach Ligashevsky, the new special teams coordinator, to know exactly what he has in Brady and to utilize it at some point in his career. And then Brady is there with the James Williams, who was a punter last year, came in as a true freshman, and now he is a true sophomore. He's on the board as the second place kicker with Brady, who seems to have a hair above him. And at punter, we have Max von Marburg, the true freshman, who has taken the spot above James. Now, there is an there, but like I said, whoever's in that spot top role, he's got it by a hair. So James Williams, who came in last year as a true freshman and was a punter for the team, is now the backup place kicker and backup punter in a situation with Max von Marburg, where we'll probably see Max as a true freshman step out there. So we could see two true freshmen in Brady and Max get out there this season. Definitely going to see Max this Saturday, it looks like. At long snapper, Aaron Belinsky is back, the true senior, and Ethan Stangl, the true freshman, is backing him up. Holding is Justin Barron, so that's interesting here. Justin Barron, the rover defensive back, is actually the holder here. Must have had the best hands on the team. And James Williams is backing him up as a holder there for kicks. And then we have Trevor Pena, as I mentioned earlier, is going to be a kick returner and punt returner with Courtney Jackson, and that is the same from last year. But both of them have gained the right on the team to have these single digits, and single digits very important to not just Syracuse, but other teams around the country. A single digit definitely showing you that in Syracuse's sense, that's somebody who has earned the respect and risen up the ranks here. So shout out to everybody that has won. Trevor Pena and Courtney Jackson, your returners, both getting him Trevor number 2, Courtney number 9. And your other single-digit holders, Garrett Schrader has number 6, Chris Elmore has number 5, Devon Cooper has number 7, and then Deuce Chestnut has number 0, Jihad Carter has number 1, Garrett Williams has number 8, Marlo Wax has number 2. They had gained those before. Michael Jones had gained number 3 before. Stephon Thompson, number 7. And those are your single-digit holders. Not many. So definitely tells you something about that. And I love that. And I'm going to be chronicling that story throughout the season. That'll probably be one of my underlying stories because I think it's a really cool thing there. So excited to have that. And that is your official depth chart for this upcoming week 1 game. It may change during the season. Those oars may flip-flop, or they may actually become a strict number 1 and a number 2. So, or somebody might sneak up there and sneak in. So definitely going to see what that's going to bring. Greg said, optimistic that our punting field position games is going to take a couple steps forward. Well, yeah, when you try to run a special teams unit with no special teams coordinator, I would say that your chance of not succeeding is dramatically higher than it would be with a coordinator. Because there are teams that have coordinators that don't lead the team that well, right? There's the Sterling Gilbert season try with Dino didn't work out on the offense. The Brian Ward, let's allow as many points as possible despite being the defensive coordinator. That didn't work out. And listen, I'm not trying to attack them personally in any way, shape, or form. I'm stating an obvious fact. Brian Ward, the bigger the school he went to, the higher the caliber, the conference he went to and whatnot, the worse the defense was that he oversaw. He gave up more and more and more and more points. He gave up 38 points a game in one of the seasons he was at Syracuse, and in the last 3 games of the season gave up 52 to 54 points a game, including that Pittsburgh basketball game that they played on the football field. So I'm stating an obvious fact. I'm not trying to attack Brian Ward. I don't do any personal attacks. In my personal life, in my professional life, I don't stand for that stuff. All I'm saying is Syracuse's defense, led by Brian Ward, went nowhere. And Syracuse's offense, led by Sterling Gilbert, I didn't hear great things about that from the inside out either. So it doesn't always work when you have, what I was making is, and the argument I'm making is, even when you have a coordinator, you got to have the right one. Sterling Gilbert wasn't the right one, right? And Brian Ward wasn't the right one. But when you have no coordinator, you don't have a chance for them to be right or wrong. So last year, the fact that Syracuse played an entire season without a special teams coordinator, to me, is a sin. That's a football sin. And it's a total disrespect to the special teams unit because they already get disrespected, right? That they're not all the same and they don't all matter and blah, blah, BS, right? But to me, not only do they all matter and not only are they all important and not only are they all vital, but how do you have a season without a coordinator? Would you have a season without an offensive coordinator? No, that coach would get fired, right? Unless they took it over themselves. And without a defensive coordinator, you shouldn't be doing it. Okay, think of Jerry Jones, right, in Dallas. He's the president. He's the head of player personnel. He's the owner. You know, he has too many jobs. He's the boss of himself like 3 times over. And have the Cowboys won a Super Bowl since? No. So you have to be able to be a leader that can find the right people to lead with you, and then you have to trust them to exert their leadership over their unit because you oversee it all, but you have to give them their place. And the fact that there was no special teams coordinator last year was insane. But I'm happy that Coach Ligg is on the team now, and I'm looking forward to it. And, you know, listen, I mean, I want to believe, you know, Dino's made those connections, has the right guys, and can get it done because this is year 7. And I think the put up or shut up year has already passed. So now it's time to definitely show it. And Bob Ligashevsky, Coach Ligg, 37-year coaching veteran. For those of you that don't know, he is the first-time special teams coordinator for Syracuse, but he's been doing this thing for almost 4 decades. And we look at his time now. His career included 12 seasons in the National Football League. Shout out to that. He won a Super Bowl as the Pittsburgh Steelers special teams coordinator in 2008, which is huge. He most recently spent the 2021 season at Bowling Green, where kicker Nate Needham led the nation in field goal percentage at 95%. Prior to his time at Bowling Green, from 2016 to 2020, he was on the Illinois staff. Ironic, because that's where Tommy DeVito is now. So he was on the Illinois staff as a special teams coordinator for all 5 seasons, and he also coached tight ends in 2016-17 with the Fighting Illini. He mentored Blake Hayes, to be the 2019 Big Ten Punter of the Year, and Chase McLaughlin to earn the 2018 Bacon Anderson Big Ten Kicker of the Year award. And in his 12 years in the NFL, he coached the Texans from 2013 to 15 as the special teams coordinator. He coached the Buccaneers in 2012 as the special teams coordinator. Raiders in 2011 as the special teams assistant. Broncos in 2010 as the tight ends coach. Steelers in 2007 to 2009, as I mentioned, as special teams coordinator, and won a Super Bowl in 2008 with them. 2005 to 6, he was the special teams coordinator of the Rams, who were in St. Louis at the time. And he was the Jacksonville Jaguars assistant special teams coach in 2004. And he also worked with Sebastian Janikowski while he was in the NFL. And in a season in which he set the then NFL record for longest made field goal, which was 63 yards. He connected on 89% of his field goals that season. Speaking of Sebastian Janikowski, when he was working with the Raiders in 2011 as their special teams assistant. And he coached Connor Barth in Tampa Bay for a season. Barth tallied a career-high 123 points, connecting on 28 of 33 field goal attempts and going a perfect 39 of 39 on PATs. And before coaching in the pros, 19 seasons in the college game, he was the tight ends coach and special teams coordinator at Pittsburgh, University of Pittsburgh, from 2000 to 2003. And that's when him and Babers overlapped for a season in 2003 when they were both in Pittsburgh. Prior to joining Pittsburgh, he spent 9 seasons at Bowling Green as the assistant head coach in 99 and coaching linebackers and special teams. For the 1989-90 seasons, he was at Kent State, also ironic because Dino lost his offensive coordinator to Kent State, who's now the head coach and has been the head coach there, Sean Lewis. So in 1989-1990 seasons, we saw Coach Legg at Kent State as the special teams coordinator, and he coached outside linebackers. He was also a graduate assistant at Arizona State in 1986 to 88, and in Wake Forest in 1985. So starting his coaching career in 1985, in the year I was born, as a grad assistant, and carrying it all the way through as a special teams coordinator in Tampa Bay, Houston, and then in the pros, Oakland as an assistant, Pittsburgh as the coordinator, St. Louis Rams as the coordinator, Jacksonville as an assistant, and since then being at Illinois, as I mentioned, and at Bowling Green with the safeties and as a special teams coordinator, returning to Bowling Green for a second stint and having his connection with Dino all the way back to 2003, almost 20 years to the date that Dino hired him as the special teams coordinator for 2022. So good stuff here. He's coached in a bunch of bowl games and NFL games. He coached in the 87 Rose Bowl and the Freedom Bowl, 1991 California Raisin Bowl. Missed that name. Love the California Raisins and their specials. 19 also were kind of creepy. 1992 in the Vegas Bowl, 2000 in the Insight.com Bowl, 2001 in the Tangerine Bowl, 2002 in the Insight Bowl again, 2003 in the Continental Tire Bowl, and then the NFL Wildcard Round 2007, the Super Bowl in 2008, 2015 NFL Wildcard Round, and in 2019 in the Red Box Bowl. So a lot of great experience, and coached kickers. I mentioned Sebastian Janikowski with the Raiders and Connor Barth with the Bucks. Also coached Steelers Jeff Reed, kicker. With the Texans, John Weeks, the long snapper, and Shane Leckler, their punter. At Illinois, I mentioned Blake Hayes, the punter, and Chase McLaughlin, the kicker. And at Bowling Green, Nate Needham, the kicker. So a lot of great stuff going on here, and very excited. And only heard good things from Nate Trout, as well as Brady Denneberg about Coach Legashevsky. So very excited to see him out there, and very excited to see Syracuse's special teams. And this might be the longest segment that anybody takes on special teams in the entire country, with not only Syracuse, but maybe in general. So shout out to special teams, because you matter just as much as the other two phases, or you wouldn't be a phase of the game. Greg said it's a pretty cool feeling that our D1 football squad has a special teams coordinator. Yeah, bro, it is. Very exciting. So we'll take a step aside for a fast break on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. When we return inside of the Cafe Kubal studios, it'll be time for the ingredients to success, proudly brought to you by Avicolli's on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, coming up right after this. In these unique times, there are those in our community that give us a sense of normalcy and positivity. Pizza Man on 50 Oswego Street in Baldwinsville has been here for you for over 35 years and is here now. Call 315-638-1234 or order online at pizzamanbville.com to bring those familiar tastes into your home. And remember to come see our monthly on-site broadcasts centered around the community and our Baldwinsville beats. Pizza Man in Baldwinsville. Any way you slice it, they are always here for you.
This is Jim Sikowski, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Cicero, 7916 Brewerton Road in Cicero, right in front of the Home Depot. I had a deep feeling that God wanted me to do something bigger with my life and to help people, help others. I kept putting Chick-fil-A in my life, and I realized as I was going through the franchise selection process that positively impacting the lives of others was really core to what we do here at Chick-fil-A. First of all, it starts with the food. The food is brought in fresh daily. We bring in local produce. We prepare to order in the kitchen. We hand bread our chicken. We hand spin our milkshakes. It's great food. It doesn't taste like fast food. I think the second thing is the way people feel when they come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. It's different. We try to treat people with intentional kindness here, which is very different and deeper than good customer service. And so I think it feels remarkable for most people to come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. And then lastly, the impact that we try to have in the community is very different. It's a big part of the expectation of every operator of a Chick-fil-A restaurant is that they're actively engaged in their community, they're a leader in the community, and they're making a difference. When they realize that what we're striving to do is to shine a little light in their life, that's a very, very different experience than you will have in any other quick service restaurant. And it's that remarkable experience that I think people will emotionally connect with.
I'm George Townsend of Honda City with some good advice when buying a new car. The true cost of owning a new car is determined by the appraised value when you trade it. No vehicle appraises higher than a Honda. Next, look for low APRs and deep discounts. You also want low maintenance costs and great fuel economy. That's why my advice to you is to buy a new Honda. Looking pre-owned, visit our Honda Certified Used Car Center. Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard, Liverpool, or HondaCity-CNY.com.
It would be a pity if you don't shop at Honda City.
Our corporate purpose at Chick-fil-A is to glorify God by being faithful stewards of all that's entrusted to us and to positively influence all those who come in contact with Chick-fil-A. And what became increasingly clear from our success in Cicero is that people love Chick-fil-A. And also I think we recognized that, we had a great opportunity to grow the brand and grow our platform. I felt incredibly grateful when I was selected to be a Chick-fil-A operator. I think what it's meant for me, what I've come to realize on a very deep level is that this is a calling for me. It's not a career. It's not a job. The Lord called me to be a Chick-fil-A operator and to use these restaurants to glorify Him and to positively influence other people. I'm blessed. I'm very blessed.
Head to Chick-fil-A Clay on 3974 State Route 31 in Liverpool, New York. Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Cafe Kubal studios where sports truly meets that thing called life. Happy to be here with you every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time as you are here with us on Facebook.com, YouTube.com, and MixLR.com, all / Wake Up Call DT. You're also here with us on Facebook.com / Live Now DT and on MixLR.com / Wake Up Call DT, as I mentioned before. I felt the need to mention again, as well as on wakeupcalldt.com. So appreciate having you here. However you're tuning in to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. It's that part of the broadcast every Tuesday right around 10:50 a.m. Eastern Time where we bring you the ingredients to success. And the ingredients to success are proudly presented by the fantastic people at Avicolli's. Their team, led by John and the crew, have been absolutely amazing. Love going over there. I love their pizza. I love their veal. I love their pasta. I love, seriously, so many things I've gotten there are fantastic. But more than anything else, John's a community guy. Avicolli's is where we do our monthly Liverpool broadcast with the Warriors. And I have the opportunity every single month to sit down with Liverpool. And John is a graduate of Liverpool High School, which is literally within walking distance right up the road. And John could not be more supportive and more caring about the community and loving. And oh my gosh, he knows the information about everything. I mean, he'll challenge the coaches. Did you know this? And did you know this? And did you know that? You know, I mean, he's incredible with his knowledge, and I appreciate him so very much. So a big shout out to John and the entire team over at Avicolli's. Thank you for all that you have done, for all of the shows that we've had, and how you've treated the people that I've brought in. You know, people that go over to Avicolli's because you hear about it here on the show, as well as how they treated my grandmother, my mom, my dad, my family in general, my extended family, my niece, my nephew, and shout out to Amy and to Emily and Carter. So much love to everybody that's been over there. Big shout out to Avicolli's. Right down the road, walking distance from Liverpool High School. That's why we have them in the community with Liverpool High School, and Avicolli's right down the road. It's a perfect fit for our exclusive Liverpool Warriors sit-down broadcast every single month to promote the student athletes, coaches, and administration of our community in Liverpool. So much love to them and to the greater Central and Upstate New York area. With the ingredients to success on today's broadcast, I would say the ingredients to success, the topic today is self-control. Self-control is the topic of today for the ingredients to success, proudly presented by Avicolli's with the fantastic barbecue chicken pizza and margarita pizza and that meat lovers. You see the margarita and the meat lovers side by side in this picture for those of you on YouTube and on Facebook and on our social media when we post it. Love their pizza. So very good. Today's topic for the ingredients to success, proudly presented by Avicolli's, is self-control, right? Everybody has a limit. You know, some of the nicest people in the world. I mean, think about it like this. Never been in a fight except for in 5th grade. And I'm proud of that. You know, it's something that God has protected me from, which I'm thankful to God for. And something that I don't get myself involved in. Not because I'm weak, not because I don't trust myself, but because I just don't believe in it. I don't believe in violence. And so I got pushed to my limit in 5th grade. I was bullied and bullied and bullied and bullied and bullied by someone who bullied a bunch of people. And he came up to me and he kept saying stuff. Oh, he was saying stuff about me, and I said something back to him finally. And he pushed me into the locker. And I matrixed myself off the locker, and I retaliated. And, you know, everybody has their limit. And I was in 5th grade, and I punched him in the face. I did. And I was as shocked as everybody else that I did. I remember my friend Matt. So I remember Matt, shout out to Matt Olmstead. I remember him grabbing me and being like, okay, that's enough. Like, no more. Like, don't go down the road. Don't make those mistakes. You know, he's like, you did what you needed to do. Like, you stuck up for yourself. Like, I'm proud of you, and just stop. And everybody should have a good friend like that. But I bring up that story not to say yay violence, but to say self-control, and that everybody has a limit, right? I was never a kid. 36 years is my only fight, and I was in 5th grade. So, you know, we all have our limit. I believe Gandhi had a limit. I believe, you know, there are people out there, everybody has a limit. Everybody has a place where they say, okay, that's enough. And when you've reached that limit, first and foremost, if somebody pushes you to your limit, get away from those people. They're not your people. They don't love you. They don't care about you. They do not have your best interest at heart. And they are only what I've realized about people is the people that push you to the limit, the people that push you to your limit will push you there repeatedly. Whoever pushes you to your limit will always eventually get back there. They will eventually push you to that again. They might take a break. But what I've realized with people is line crossers are habitual, right? People that cross the line with you will habitually cross the line with you until they kick themselves out of it. And a lot of them don't. And so I think it's important in life to have self-control, right? when you're on the road, right? There's a lot of people with road rage. People swear. I've heard stories of somebody trying to get on an entranceway and somebody wouldn't let them in, and the person's like trying to get on, and the person drives up to them and shoots them. Shot somebody because they were trying to get on an entranceway and they didn't want to let them in, and they shot them. I mean, insanity. So self-control, right? Self-control when you're driving, self-control when you're in the grocery store, self-control when somebody cuts you. I'm not saying don't stick up for yourself. I'm saying, is it ever worth having a bar fight? Right? I understand people protecting their families and this, that, and whatever, and I understand that in today's world people will have a rebuttal to everything that anyone says. But self-control is imperative. I've learned that in my life. When somebody pushes me to my brink, I have to excuse myself from the situation. I'm a calm person. I don't like to yell. I don't like to fight. I really don't. And as many times as I've yelled, I look back on it and I'm like, I never wanted to get to that point. I never want to yell. And when people yell now with me, I don't want to match them. Self-control, right? And I think it's important to realize the difference between somebody having a conversation with you, a disagreement, right? And someone who is disrespecting you. Disagreement and disrespect are two totally different things, right? And I've been a culprit of this, and other people in my life have been a culprit of this toward me, is when you get personal, when you're not agreeing with each other. You can't get personal, right? You can't name call. You got to be on the same team at all times. And when you're in a relationship, be it family, friends, a significant other, work, where you are not on the same team, right? If your boss is your boss, they may not like the job you did on something, but they shouldn't condemn you. They shouldn't personally attack you. They shouldn't push you to your limits in a negative way, because they're still on your team. They're your boss. They're not the boss of the competing company. When you're in a romantic relationship or a friendship or family, those people should not be pushing you to be your worst version of yourself. And I said that in recent history. I said I was in a relationship where I was trying to help somebody become a better person to themselves while they were trying to make me a worse person to myself. They were trying to make me hate myself, and I was trying to get them to love themselves. And when you're in a relationship of any kind, you should both be working toward love. Somebody shouldn't be growing while another person is receding, right? You shouldn't have somebody growing and someone receding. You shouldn't have two people receding, and you shouldn't have one growing, one receding. If you're in a good relationship, then you should both be growing. And that's when you're in a boss to an employee to a boss, a friend to a friend, a family member to a family member, parent to child, child to parent, romantic relationship, person to person. I think you should always be bringing out the best in the people around you, and they should be bringing out the best in you. And self-control, what are the ingredients to success for self-control? Well, first and foremost, understand your surroundings and your relationships. People make mistakes. Somebody's going to piss you off, and they don't mean to, right? That's happened. I had a friend who said something, and it hurt me. And I don't know why they said it. I don't know if it's because they were having problems in their own relationships and they wanted somebody else to, misery loves company. I don't know what it was. But they shared something with me that was never going to be a positive. It could only be a negative. It was either going to be a negative or a moot point. But it was not going to be a positive. And I said something to them about it, and they've never gone back there. Not once. Not even a little bit. Not even for a second. Right? People make mistakes. It's the habitual, right? It's the habitual problematic people that you have to realize when they are doing those things, you have to understand to get out of those situations, right? No one should push you to a place where you don't feel in control of yourself. And because that usually means anger is taken over, depression, anxiety. Nobody should push you to those points. Nobody should push you to a point of depression. Nobody should push you to a point of anxiety. And nobody should push you to a point of fear and anger, right? None of those are good emotions. And, I think some people get anxious over everything, and it's their crutch, and it's what they use to excuse themselves from the things that they do. So I'm not talking about that, because some people are anxious whenever anybody faces them with real life. So I think it's imperative in your life to understand your relationships is a big part of self-control. Who are you surrounding yourself with, and what positions are you putting yourself in, right? Self-control. If you go to a dive bar where people constantly get in fights and constantly say things, you're putting yourself in a situation, right? I don't put myself in situations in certain environments where I believe things are unsavory. I don't put myself around people, places, and things that tend to lean more on the negative, argumentative, combative places. So that is something. Recognize your environments. Recognize your relationships is an ingredient to success. Understand who you're with, right? Understand the people that have made mistakes and stopped, and understand the people that have made mistakes and never stopped, and understand the people that made mistakes and only stopped because they got caught. Because your self-control in those situations where people are habitual line crossers, you're gonna eventually cross your own line. Someone who continuously hurts you, you're gonna lose a little bit of control of yourself, and you don't want to do that, right? You don't want to come to a point where someone just continuously breaks the rules that you've set for yourself, because eventually you're going to respond to it, and it won't be positive. You might say something stupid, do something stupid, and you want to put yourself there. I would also say, when it comes to self-control, I think you have to have God. Your faith. Pick up the Bible, read a passage that's your favorite, start from the beginning, or do what I did last night, open up to a random page and see if it fits how you're feeling in that moment. I think that read inspirational quotes, that's another part of self-control. Meditating, praying, yoga, cardio, walking, lifting weights, basketball. When I would get really upset about something, I would go play basketball because I could take it out on the court. The ball and the hoop weren't going to get mad at me. And music. Music is very therapeutic for self-control. Sometimes you need to listen to the screaming music, and you need to scream in your car. Better scream in your car to the music than screaming at somebody else. Sometimes you need to listen to a ballad and cry. Sometimes you need to listen to a rap song and get it out. Sometimes you need to listen to comedy and joke about it. But, self-control, it is important to be self-aware of when you're losing control. And nobody should bring you to a place where you lose control. No one in your life should bring you to a place where you lose control. Right? When you're like, gosh darn it, that's not me. I don't want to be like that. That wasn't kind of me to do or say. You don't want to put yourself in those situations. People that put you in those situations they need to be taken out of your life. And that means you exiting. That means you don't need to yell at them. You don't need to swear at them. You don't need to call them names. You don't need to do anything to prove that you're strong. You need to walk away. That's how you prove that you're strong. And I think that people misconstrue walking away with weakness. Oh, yeah, you walk away, you little yella. I grew up watching Back to the Future's trilogy, and, they call you chicken, or they call you yella, right? And they would call you a wuss, a dweeb, a wimp. And, really, think about it in my case. Got in one fight in 5th grade that lasted a couple seconds in 36 years of my life, right? How many people, places, and things that were negative, depressing, anxiety-driven, dangerous did I walk away from? You know what I mean? And you have to. Because once you understand this is my limit, that's your limit. And you have a set of rules. I have a set of rules in relationships. I have certain things that if you do those things to me, then I'm done. Not because I'm heartless, but because there's certain things that we don't put up with. And I want you to understand that it's okay to have rules in your life. It's okay to have boundaries. People are going to say to you, what would Jesus do? They're going to try and make you feel bad. Someone who sins and does something bad to you, they're going to try, 9 times out of 10, those people are going to try and justify it, and they're going to try and make it your problem. The problem isn't that I sinned against you, Dan. The problem is the fact that Jesus would forgive me, so you need to forgive me because you need to understand that it's okay and I'm just human. No. There are certain lines you can't cross with me. And once those lines are crossed, I don't believe that the God that I love would say to me, yeah, stay in this situation where you were completely abused, disrespected, ridiculed, and things were done behind your back that were so egregiously awful and evil and gross that you would never even fathom doing yourself, and you've never done. In 36 years, there's things that I've never done. And if at any time I've done anything that's not who I am, I've gone to the person. I've not gotten caught. I've gone straight to them and said, hey, this is what I did. This is, you know, like, and I've said, like, this is the situation. I remember, like, I don't cheat. I've never cheated in 36 years. And I won't. Because I couldn't live with it. I've been cheated on multiple times. And people always try to justify why they did it or that it's not really cheating. And if you have to justify that your cheating is not really cheating, it's cheating. You know? And I think everybody has a different definition of it. But my self-control is to look at that situation and be better than I've been in the past and say, okay, you know what, just walk away. Because that's a limit for me. That's a limit breaker. You only get one shot at that. If you cheat on me, I'll never trust you again. And so I move on. And you can't make that about me. That's about you. There's something wrong with you that you would do that. There's not a cheater on this planet that I don't think there's something wrong with them inside. Because you don't do that to people. And I think you have to have those boundaries, and you need to respect your boundaries. And when those boundaries are crossed, you have to move on. You know, there's a reason why people came up with the term red flags. When you see one and God waves it to you, you can't unsee it. Now, I'm not saying don't give people a second chance, but it depends on the foul, right? In basketball, there's a flagrant 1 and a flagrant 2. Flagrant 2, I can eject you from a game. Flagrant 1, you can stay in the game, but you're warned. And so I think, you know, in relationships, business and personal, you have to know your flagrant 1s and your flagrant 2s. And when your flagrant 2s happen, you need to eject that person. And that doesn't mean to throw them. It doesn't mean to literally eject them out of a car or plane. It means that you need to be done with that, right? It's a fireable offense. As a business owner, as a president and CEO, there are certain things that you could do with my company, that you sign a contract with me. If you break those rules, there are certain things that you are done. There are certain things that you're done. There's other things where I can say, okay, you know what? You showed up late 3 times. I'm going to monitor you for the next couple months, but please don't do it again. That's a flagrant 1. A flagrant 2 for me, you know, there's certain things that you just don't do. And it's an automatic. I was working with a business and I saw the general manager sexually harass their workers, verbally and physically. And I was like, no, that's a flagrant 2 for me. I can't work with you. That's not a flagrant 1, it's a flagrant 2. So you need to know what your limits are. You need to understand them. You need to respect them. If you don't respect your boundaries, nobody else will. People treat you how you allow them to treat you. Now you'd say, Dan, well, that means I allowed someone to cheat on me? No. They cheated on you by themselves. But if you took them back, you allowed them to continue that behavior. Because they now know that even when they break your rules, there's still a shot for them. I had somebody tell me to my face, I don't chase you. I said, what about when you're wrong? My mom told me never to chase anybody. My mom said the guy always has to come back. I said, well, what about when the woman's wrong? That's sexist. That's sexist to every degree. Why does a man have to chase even when the woman's wrong? And why does anybody have to chase at all? Why is anybody running? Why is anybody playing cat and mouse? And then they said to me, well, I don't chase you because I know you'll always come back to me. I know eventually, no matter what I've done or how bad it is, that if I sit here long enough, you'll eventually come back to me. You'll call me, you'll come see me. No matter what I do, nothing's bad enough you'll come back to me because you're a good person and you'll always give me another chance. That is a place that is dangerous. We have to understand as a society self-control, because we're in a place right now where I feel like a lot of people are heightened, right? We're mad about a lot of things. We're mad about gas. We're mad about groceries. We're mad about jobs. We're mad about money. We're mad about people that aren't going to work, that are capable of going to work, that are mooching off the government, mooching off us because we're paying taxes and we're giving them money. We're mad about healthcare. We're mad about, the state of the country. We're mad about sexism and prejudice and racism. We're mad about people not accepting us for who we are. We're mad about unfair treatment. We're mad about things in our personal life, people that passed away, people that cheated on us, lied to us, people that disappeared, ghosting. We're mad about so many different things. We're mad about people that are driving on the highway with us, driving on the road with us in general. We're mad about something somebody said to us on social media. People are at a heightened state. Self-control is at an all-time necessity, right? We used to have, when Columbine happened, it was like the first mass shooting that some people had ever heard of in their lifetime on Earth in America. It was like the only one in a decade. Now, there's times where it feels like there's one a week, two a week. School shootings, when Columbine happened, that was a by itself crazy tragedy. Since Columbine, in the last couple of years, it's become a normal thing. We almost expect to go onto Twitter and see that a school shooting is trending. Whenever I see a high school or a college in the trending part, I immediately think that there's some type of violence. Whenever I see any college show up in my Twitter timeline, I'm thinking there's another mass shooting. I am now predeterminedly prefixed to think that that's what's going to happen, which is sad. So we are at an all-time high for self-control, okay? And it is up to you to keep yourself away from the people, places, and things that cross your boundaries, that put you in a state. Because once there is no person on this planet that you don't have boundaries that once they're crossed over and over and over again, you don't snap. You don't react. You don't have a moment where you're not your best version of yourself. So in order to prevent yourself from having those moments, and in order to keep the peace, we must have self-control. And self-control is met by being aware, by staying away from people, places, and things, like I said, that cross your boundaries, by setting your boundaries, and by understanding that it is more than okay to say that something that may be okay with someone else is not okay with you. And the irony of it all is most of the people that do bad things to other people would never want that exact same thing to be done to them. And I tested that theory, and it was met immediately by a reaction that made me go, how could you do this for months, but you can't handle it for 5 minutes if it's done to you? So your ingredients to success: take the people out of your life. And that doesn't mean like remove them physically. That means you walk away. Take the people out of your life that cross your boundaries. Take the things out of your life that bring out the worst in you. Take the places in life where you go where the environment brings out the worst in you. Right? There's a prayer that you say when you sin. Oh my God, I'm sorry for my sins with all my heart. In choosing to do wrong and failing to do good, I have sinned against you, whom I should love above all else. I firmly intend with your help to do my penance, to sin no more, and to avoid whatever leads me to sin. Why do you think the church put that in there? Right? Do my penance, sin no more. That should be enough, right? I'm going to do my penance, I'm going to say I'm sorry for the sins I've done, and I'm not going to sin again. But there's a third part, and to stay away from the things that cause me to sin. To do my penance, to sin no more, and to avoid the things that lead me to sin. Why do you think that that's in there? Because it's not good enough to say I'll sin no more. I have to avoid the things that lead me to that. The things that bring out the worst in me. We all have those things. People have vices, right? Some people it's technology. Some people it's alcohol. Some people it's drugs. Some people it's physical stuff. Some people, it's buying stuff, right? We all have something that at some point in our life, it controlled us, right? Some people, it's gambling, right? They're controlled by, they love that feeling of not knowing what's going to happen next, right? Some people love to cheat because they like getting caught. Some people love to steal because they like knowing they got away with it, right? So everyone at some point has had a vice, right? Maybe your vice is you just like can't stop eating Oreos, right? And you gain a ton of weight and you affect your cholesterol. Everybody had a vice at some point, or will have a vice at some point. Self-control is imperative. Without self-control, people be getting shot on every street, every moment of every day. Without self-control, everybody would be obese. Without self-control, the F word would be part of, every sentence said in America at all times. So to me, it's really important for us to establish self-control in our lives by understanding ourselves, respecting other people, and even when they don't respect you, to respect them back. And sometimes that means by walking away. Because the only things in life worth keeping are the things that bring you positivity and peace. If there is anything in your life, at the time that you are watching and listening to this show right now, if there is anything in your life right now that is not bringing you positivity or peace, get rid of it. Get rid of it. That doesn't mean bury it 6 feet under. That means take it out of your life. Get rid of it. If there is anything in your life that is disrupting your peace or your positivity or your love for yourself, get rid of it. Because God is not the God of chaos. He is the God of peace. Anything in your life that's chaotic, anything that causes you anxiety and stress, and I'm not saying like we get anxious, right? People have their kids, you get anxious, you get nervous. I'm not saying that. I'm saying things in your life that cause you consistent pain. Would you put your hand on the top of a stove, burn it, and leave it there? No, unless you're a crazy person, right? Unless you're out of your mind. Nobody puts their hand on a stove, burns their hand, and keeps putting their hand on the stove. So why would you do that in a relationship? Think about every relationship in your life like your hand on a stove. Would you want to burn your fingers off? No. So why would you stay in a relationship that feels like you are putting your hand on a stove and you're burning yourself to death? Right? You wouldn't slam your arm in a car door. You wouldn't put your hand on a stove. Right? You wouldn't stick your head in a freezer that's negative 40 degrees and just let it be there, right? Most of us won't walk out into the snow shoeless. There's certain things you would never do because you know the pain it would cause you physically. So why don't you care about your emotional, spiritual, economical, mental, physical pain, right? Your physical pain matters to you. What about your emotional pain? What about your mental pain? The best way to have self-control is to remind yourself, does this relationship feel like I put my hand on the stove and I just burned my hand? Or does this relationship feel like I'm sitting in a green pasture enjoying my life? That's what you have to look to. What part of your life are you taking care of? And what part are you not? Self-control is as much about you as it is about what you put in your life and what you leave there. How many of us would go absolutely crazy if a beehive was swarming and spinning around our head while we were trying to sleep? All of us. So why let anybody be the hive in your life? Because eventually you're going to swat at it, right? You're going to swat at the bees. Self-control. Be aware, be kind, be respectful. Don't stoop down to someone's level. And do not surround yourself with things that bring out the worst in you. Self-control is the imperative must for everybody. It's not an option in life. It's the option. Because your self-control is your peace. And your peace is your prosperity. And your prosperity is your positivity. And your positivity is your health. So the next time you're dealing with a swarm of bees, figuratively or literally, remember what I said today. Pray about it. Meditate about it. And take out the beehives from your life. Because nobody deserves to get stung. We'll take a step aside for a fast break. When we come back here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, we'll wrap up the broadcast here and get you set for tomorrow. And all we have coming up this week, we've got 2 live broadcasts on site on location, one at the Wildcat and one at Pizza Man Pub. We'll get up to that right after this.
Cafe Cabal offers same-day local delivery of our products, offering no delivery charge for Onondaga County. Shop cafecabal.com for fresh roasted coffee beans, cold brew, travel mugs, and all your essential Cafe Cabal needs. Cafe Cabal, coffee for the soul.
This is Amy from Mother's Cupboard, home of the whole frittata. We are open daily 6 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. For takeout orders, call 315-432-0942 and tune in to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora for our monthly food challenge and try our Wake Up Call signature menu item available 7 days a week. Here at Mother's Cupboard, we are Central New York, and it's our honor to serve you.
Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory remind us that every day is worth celebrating. Find them at 201 Old 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York. Open Monday through Saturday in-store and all the time online at maandpaspopcorn.com. Serving our Central New York community and beyond, you can order all throughout the country at maandpaspopcorn.com. And remember to get your tins, which have in-store half-price refills forever. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory, available to you for fundraising and all of your events by calling 315-450-6272. That's 315-450-6272. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory. How corny are you?
Woody Wicks Candles and Gift Shop, Township 5 Camillus, where you will find handcrafted all-natural soy wax candles over 60 cents to freshen up your home. We carry a wide range of locally made items, Syracuse, Syracuse Salt, and Chocolate Pizza Company, to name a few. Let our knowledgeable staff help choose unique gifts and keepsakes for any occasion. Gifts for family and friends, and maybe a little something for yourself. Woody Wicks Candles and Gift Shop, Township 5 Camillus.
And welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Cafe Cabal Studios. Cafe Cabal on 3501 James Street, 324 West Water Street, as well as 401 South Salina Street, all in Syracuse. Inside of their double-decker cafe on 343 Fayette Street in Manlius, New York, and on the corner of Route 11 and Taft Road at Sweetheart Corners in North Syracuse. So make sure you head out there today. Want to thank everyone who is involved in maandpaspopcorn.com's What's Poppin'. I implore you to go out and see Ma and Pa's at the Great New York State Fair this week all the way through Labor Day. They have 3 locations and the Spud Shack, which is in connection with Ma and Pa's, so make sure you head off there and at any time from now all the way through Labor Day, and let them know that Wake Up Call sent you, and say hi to them. Angela and Jim Bell not only are the owners of Ma and Pa's, but they work on their trucks and at their tents, and they are tremendously amazing. Love working with them. I went out and saw them yesterday, and I love the fact that I get to work with businesses that are hands-on. I don't work with hands-off business owners. I work with people that actually care about their people and work hand-in-hand with their people. And Jim and Angela were out there in the heat yesterday working their tails off with their staff, and I respect them for that. Big shout-out, speaking of respect, big shout-out to Ashley Holdridge. Much respect for her being a wonderful community person in Central and Upstate New York, as well as her new opportunity at Buffalo State and the work she did at SUNY Morrisville. Excited to see her in her first season at Buffalo State as the Bengals women's lacrosse head coach inside of the SUNYAC for NCAA Division III. And I thank Ashley once again for letting Wake Up Call be the exclusive first interview she did since receiving the job and accepting it. And then obviously with Syracuse, with the depth chart, we got to break down the week 1 depth chart against Louisville for the entire offense, defense, and special teams. And of course, we brought you our ingredients to success, which this week the topic was self-control, proudly presented by Avicolli's. You're with us on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time on YouTube.com, Facebook.com, and on MixLR.com, all / Wake Up Call DT, as well as on Facebook.com / LiveNowDT, and on WakeUpCallDT.com's homepage. Once the shows go live, join us in the archives on any one of your outlets that you love. These are all very notable, awesome places that we've been able to carry Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. You could check us out on Amazon Music, Audible, iHeartRadio, iTunes and Apple Podcasts, MixLR, Player FM, Podbean, Podvine, TuneIn, Spotify, Stitcher, and YouTube. All you have to do is search Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, or one word, Wake Up Call DT. A big shout out and a big thanks to all of our Central and Upstate New York partners and beyond that you've heard throughout the show. Cafe Kubal, Carvel DeWitt, the Wildcat Sports Pub, PB&J's Lunchbox, as well as Canine Camp Dog Daycare, Chick-fil-A Cicero, and Chick-fil-A Clay. Canine Campground Dog Boarding, Avicolli's, Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory, Honda City of Liverpool, Pizza Man, Mother's Cupboard, Victory Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, Witty Wicks, and Wake Up Call is, of course, the proud exclusive multimedia marketing partner of your Lemoyne College Dolphins. It is Fins Up every single month on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora and our exclusive multimedia marketing partnership with the Lemoyne College Dolphins. You can check out Lemoyne here with us on Wednesdays, including tomorrow during Dolphin Time. Every Wednesday at 9 a.m. Eastern Time, we feature the Dolphins in Dolphin Time. Every first and third Wednesday of each month, we have the opportunity to bring you the AD and DT specials featuring Athletics Director Bob Beretta and myself, Dan Tortora. And every second and fourth Wednesday of each month, we have the opportunity of bringing you Dolphin Dive with student athletes as well as coaches, administration, future Dolphins, and alumni joining the show to tell their stories. And very excited with this story we just got to tell with Tom Bonus and the preseason retreat that his team took that's obviously paid off dividends as the team has started off with some nice victories here to start off the season. So big shout out to the Lemoyne College Dolphins. You can get all of our Lemoyne Dolphins specials and all of our content by going to the Lemoyne tab on wakeupcalldt.com. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com / wakeupcalldt. And for more information on the Dolphins, go to LemoyneDolphins.com. Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora is the proud multimedia marketing partner exclusively of the Marywood University Pacers. It is Pacer Pride every single week on Wake Up Call to round out the week on Fridays around 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time with student athletes, coaches, and administration. The Pacers have been covered and given a spotlight unlike ever before here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Your Marywood University Pacers can be found on the Marywood tab on wakeupcalldt.com. All of our content on youtube.com / wakeupcalldt as well. Make sure you subscribe. And for more information on your Pacers, go to marywoodpacers.com. The Bryan and Stratton College Bobcats of Syracuse are also exclusive multimedia marketing partners with Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. The Bobcat Buzz comes to you every single month, and we've been able to do exclusives around the community on campus at Bryan and Stratton College of Syracuse on James Street in Syracuse, New York. We've also been at Mother's Cupboard on 3709 James Street in Syracuse. We've been over to PB&J's Lunchbox as well on 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York. And of course, we've been at multiple Cafe Kubal locations. Your Bobcats coming to you with national champions. From administration to their coaches and student athletes, the Bobcat Buzz is exclusive to Wake Up Call and happens every single month. We got some Bobcat Buzz coming up with the men's and women's soccer teams, both coming off of national championships of 2021 as they head into the 2022 seasons, respectively. And I'm excited to share those with you coming up here very soon as the Bryan and Stratton Bobcats are here with us on our BSC SYR tab on wakeupcalldt.com. On youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. Click subscribe. And for more information on your Bobcats, go to syracuse.bscbobcats.com. Here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, I want to thank you for being with us every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time once again. And to Facebook, find us 24/7 at Wake Up Call DT, Twitter at Call DT, and Instagram at WakeUpCall_DT. Subscribe to youtube.com/WakeUpCallDT. And as always, folks, God bless, no stress, do your best. Get rid of the chaos, keep the positive, keep your peace, have self-control, understand that everybody makes mistakes, and know the difference between a mistake and a habit, and love yourself from the inside out. Don't love yourself because somebody else does. Love yourself because you do. I'll talk with you all soon.